everybody. Welcome back to the One Step Better Business Podcast with Mike and Matt. Glad that you guys are tuning in today. Really excited to talk to you about a fun topic, how to know if you're paying too much for payroll processing. That's our goal for today. We're going to explore some of the ways a lot of the popular payroll companies price their services, some of the things you need to look out for, some things you just need to be aware of if you're outsourcing your payroll. So that's going to be today's topic. Get real practical. It's going to be fun. Before we do that, got a question for you, Matt. Matthew Patrick, what is the most unusual or unique food item that you have ever eaten?
I've eaten fermented shark. It sounds about as good as it sounds.
I think I threw up in my mouth.
A little bit. Yep. That one is like 1A. I've also tried haggis. Also pretty.
What's that?
That is basically pig intestines.
Ugh.
And
That
it's
sounds
boiled in a stomach. Yeah. But the version I ate was in like a kind of like a hush puppy. So it was like that with some cornmeal.
This should not be the question of the day.
Yeah. It was pretty good. No, I mean, actually, I didn't. Haggis actually did not taste bad. The fermented shark, it was like shooting. I put it in my mouth, took half a bite, and I immediately chased it with something that was worse. So I did some of the Icelandic fire water after that, which is just basically a liqueur, and it was like pure fire,
like spicy,
like rubbing alcohol.
Oh, just like high proof alcohol.
Yeah, it's like it's like an Everclear, but yeah, that was how you chase that away. Other thing, I had squid ink, which is actually not that. I mean, it's not that weird. It was weird for me.
Squid ink pasta.
Yeah, I had that. That's been kind of unique. Had raccoon. That's a good one.
Oh yeah, you are from South Florida.
Yeah, I've had gator. If you haven't had gator in South Florida, you haven't really lived. So you, Mike, what's your weird? Yours might be ketchup.
Yeah. The most odd thing I've ever had was mustard. Honestly, no, I don't. I have never eaten anything weird. Got a couple stories though.
Intentionally.
The most interesting situation that I've had the opportunity to turn down weird food is I was in Kenya.
I was like, it's had to be Africa, right?
And we went to a essentially a Brazilian steakhouse
in Africa.
So it's like they're bringing around a variety of meats at any point in time, but it's all wild game stuff. And it's not like, hey, you just have the opportunity to try to eat a zebra or you have the opportunity to eat a wildebeest. It's like, this is the left testicle of a giraffe. And I'm just like, oh no, this is not good. Because I'm
looking for I like a sirloin cut
chicken
fillet. Got any fillets back there?
Yeah. And so that was wild.
That's wild game.
Yeah. Wild.
I mean, I've seen Rocky Mountain oysters before.
Yeah.
They have them at the Rockies ballpark, and I was like, I'm not eating that.
Yeah. Here recently, maybe the wildest thing I have eaten, I read recently that a lot of people will serve fried calamari, and it's actually the butthole of a pig. And I don't know if that's true, but if it is, that's the wildest thing I've ever eaten.
I'm not going to ask any questions there, Mike.
Yeah.
I do have another food experience that popped up to my mind. In college, Manny and I went out on like one of our first, it was maybe our first Valentine's Day. We went out with a couple other couples, and we went to a Japanese steakhouse, and about a week later, they got shut down for serving dog and cat. And we had this meat sampler platter. So I'm pretty sure I've had some dog or cat. It was good though. I mean, I didn't know it was good.
You would eat it again.
If I don't know it's dog or cat, maybe I would.
Yeah.
Also, when we were in Italy, they had horse on the menu, which I couldn't. As the people next to us ordered it, they said it was great. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not having horse. So that's about the extent of my seeing weird food.
Yeah, I don't like that stuff at all. I'll tell you this. If you like weird food stories, you need to ask Shelby Betts, our team, about her sheep head soup story. Not only is it a great story, the way that she tells it is fantastic. Yeah. So reach out to Shelby.
That reminds me.
Ask her for a sheep
Indiana Jones, when he has like the monkey brains.
Yeah.
No, I'm out.
Yeah, I'm out. Yeah. You know what? I'm sure that weird food meal was expensive, uh, but you could probably get it cheaper if you knew how much you were paying for payroll cost.
That's right. It's probably true. Yeah. Mike, that was the best segue I've heard in a long time.
Oh, I don't know if that was a segue at all. We're gonna go with it though. How to know if you're paying too much for payroll processing? Um, oftentimes, oftentimes, payroll is a function of your business that when it is working, I don't think about it. I don't think about how much it costs. I don't think about if I'm overpaying. I don't think about if should I be paying more because it works. And then when things are working, especially with something as mission critical as payroll, if it's working, I don't want to touch it.
Correct.
And so today, what I want us to talk through is even if your payroll is working, let's give some practical tips on things that you can at least look at to know if you're overpaying. And that may turn into a conversation with your current provider to say, hey, let's talk about
I
our price.
thought I was paying this.
Yeah. I like you guys, but I would like to pay less. So how do you know if you're overpaying for your payroll processing services, Matthew Patrick?
Well, what I thought you were going to go was I would imagine if for every 10 prospective clients we talk to, when we ask them what they are paying for current services, they're wrong like 147% of the time. Because pricing is all over the map.
It's wild.
It's wild.
Yeah.
And so what they really don't understand a lot of times is all the other things that the payroll companies are charging them for. Legitimately so. They may have been disclosed in their agreement. They may have talked about it at one point. But there are a lot of moving pieces that go into a payroll price a lot of times when you're looking at your invoice. Part of that is your invoice isn't always just right there front and center.
Mhm.
So they're not actually seeing it very often. They're seeing a draft in their bank account. It's $150 every time they run, or it's $200 every time they run, whatever it is. And it's about what it was last time, but it may have been a little bit more, maybe a little less. I thought I was doing this, but I'm really doing this. That's what I see more than anything is they don't have a clue what they're paying.
Yeah.
When we go to talk to our prospective clients, when we sort of ask that question, like, hey, our price isn't going to change based on what you're paying today, but I would like to know what you're paying today to make sure, like, hey, if your expectation is it's going to be $6 a month for my services, and we're not going to be that, and so I want to make sure that we are comparing apples and apples. Hey, also that invoice should be telling me if there's any oddball things in your process it could be, hey, I have this connection turned on for carrier connections, or I have this thing turned on for my API connection for this other software. That's going to tell some things that you may not have remembered. Hey, they're submitting our garnishments on through the impound account. Great. We need to know that stuff on the front end, so that it's a way for us to get some clarification. So when I think mostly about payroll pricing, it's where I start is you probably aren't fully aware what you're actually paying for. Even if you looked at what you paid that vendor over the course of the year, you're going to see swings, extra billings, what happens when you have to reprocess a payroll, all those little things that pop up. Getting a better handle on what you actually are paying is probably a good first start.
Yeah. Understanding how you're being billed is important.
Correct.
Because in the payroll space, there is a bunch of different ways that companies will bill you. We bill on a per employee per month for all of our normal base charges. But that's very different than if I'm paying. A lot of companies will charge per check plus per payroll run.
Yep.
And then some companies will charge a per employee per payroll run. So like there's a variety of billing methods that a bunch of companies will use. And understanding that, I think, is key to understanding really what you're paying. Because it's very common. Hey, so tell me, how much are you paying for your payroll? I have no idea. I don't even know.
I think I'm paying about $250 a month. And we look, they're paying $500 a month, or they're paying $150 a month. They have no clue. I'll say that the most common payment methods we see are some type of base fee plus a per employee / per check fee is still probably the most common today. That's not how we charge.
Yeah.
And so that
we run into issues with that.
Yeah.
I remember we were sitting down with the prospect, and we quoted them, and somebody else has quoted them. And the conversation was, hey, you guys are about 10% more. Is there anything you can do? And I'm like, you shared invoices. I'm like, there's no way I'm 10% more. So let's sit down and talk through it. And what they were doing is they thought that our per employee per month fee was a per employee per payroll process fee.
Correct.
So they basically doubled our cost.
Yeah.
And with double our cost, we were 10% more than what they were paying. But what we would actually bill them was like 40% less than what they were already paying.
Yep.
And so to be clear, 100% transparent in our world, works.com/pricing, you will see everything that we bill. Every dollar amount for every service that we offer is listed on our website. We don't play games with this. It's not something like it's a hidden secret that you have to reach out to somebody to know. We're very upfront, very transparent with pricing. So you can go see that if you want to see that. But one of the things that you mentioned that we are going to do that I find super helpful is we're going to ask you to share your current billing or whatever it is, the different providers you're looking for, what their quotes are, because we do have that issue of
we want to educate you.
Yeah.
This is education. I mean, like I said, we're not going to negotiate based off of price. We have a set of listed prices. We have set those at the rates that allow us to do the services at the right way, providing the right value. We're not in the game of doing a lot of heavy discounting. We're not in a, running a special. That's not who we are. We are here to make your life easier. And that is just with open transparency. We want to educate you on how to compare these bills between each other. If you're going to just do a straight price to price standpoint, I can honestly tell you, by the time everything's said and done, we're all going to be pretty close to one another for the most part. There is obviously exceptions to that. There's going to be exceptions on both sides of the extreme, but for the most part, price in this process should not be a major determining factor for most people, because this is not a major investment most of the time when it comes to dollars. It is a major investment when it comes to time, process improvements, all those things, but dollars really shouldn't be. What are some of the things that you would expect to see across the industry that are being charged for?
Yeah, good question. Oftentimes you're going to have a base payroll fee. And that base payroll fee could be anywhere from a per employee per month, like we talked about, a per process, per check, a monthly employee fee. There's some kind of base fee that probably makes up 80% of what you're paying your payroll company. And then there's all the little other things that can sometimes smell like a bunch of nickel and diming. Oftentimes you'll have postage fees. So if somebody has to mail checks, they're going to charge you for that. Sometimes you'll have new hire fees. So if they're going to do new hire state reporting or even e-verify type stuff, a lot of times they're going to get charged for that. You can have tax filing fees. You can have multiple state tax filing fees. You're going to have some people, you're going to start to see ancillary service add-ons for things like retirement connections or carrier feeds or benefit connections. Sometimes you'll see HR fees that's broken out separately from your normal payroll fees. So it's a variety of things. I always go back to go look at your contract and read some of the fine print. I know that nobody likes to go read contracts. Upload your contract into Chat GPT, ask Chat, hey, how much am I paying? And you'll probably get a good breakdown. But if you just start with going to your contract and looking at what are all the things I could be paying for, and then go pull, you can never, ever, ever pull the latest invoice and know what you're paying for, because there's always more to the story. So go pull a handful of invoices, take a look at it, and you'll get a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, the things that I've seen over the years is charging for employee self-service and charging for direct deposit fees, charging for FedEx delivery when you have one check going, out the door now. Like all those things are something you need to make sure you're kind of looking at.
I'll give you one. I got asked the question today. I was on a call with a prospect today, and their question was, how much do you charge for employee document storage?
Yep.
So they had a quote in hand where they were going to get billed essentially buckets of storage space for their employee documents. So like 0 to 500 gigs is included, but it's like, wow, that was the first. I've never seen that one before.
Yep. We've had that not in payroll, but we've had that with, we have those fees that we get dinged from our different software
vendors.
Yeah. It is one of those things where, like I said, you're probably not aware, like Hey, what happens when you have a voided check? What happens when you have a NSF? What happens when you have um, an employee payment get returned? What happens when you have to refile a 941 because you're making a prior period change? What happens when you have an amended W-2 to be filed? All those are going to be generally fees. And every payroll provider that's out there, they're going to be all over the board. And those are like you said earlier, you think about payroll, 85% is going to be your normal processing fees. This is the stuff that's out of the norm, but also it could happen more frequently than you want it to.
Yeah.
You should understand what that looks like.
Yeah. And when those fees are really triggering, because I know that we oftentimes somebody will reach out because, hey, you know what, I just like I got charged $150 to run an out of cycle payroll, and that just feels odd. Like, yeah, that probably does, feel a little bit odd. But whenever those things are triggering, yes, you should explore, and you should also ask your questions about what are we doing internally that could have avoided the thing that caused the fee to happen. Because I don't know, for a lot of payroll companies, that thing that triggered out of norm does take time, effort, energy, resources to help support and fix. And so there are fees for those things, but they're also oftentimes preventable.
Yep. And I would say, if you're getting charged for reprocessing, or having to fix a payroll every time, you probably have a process problem, which is causing some of this, and your payroll provider should be talking to you. This is not something that should happen regularly. So while you may get I'll say a little bit of a penal fee there, but gets a little bit of a PETA fee of the reprocess that has to happen, the reality of it is you're really getting charged for a bad process.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a true statement. Now, there are times in which, hey, I made a mistake. And sometimes, it happens.
Okay.
But if it's a normal recurring thing, it's definitely something to take a look at. All right. General ballpark ranges, though. Let's get into the mud. If you're paying, say, around $5 per employee per month for all things payroll, that's probably a really good deal. And if you're paying $50 per employee per month, you need to be looking somewhere else. So oftentimes we'll see this with more of the full service stuff where you'll go with a big brand national provider and they've added on and tacked on a bunch of additional services that you probably don't need anymore or maybe never needed. And if you look at your bill, turns out, I'm probably paying the equivalent of $30, $40, $50 per employee per month. And it's like, you know what? That is definitely a triggering event. I need to look at this.
Yeah. I mean, the only caveat to that is there's usually that first floor you have to hop over. So if you're a really small employer, employee one's going to cost you the most of any employee you have, right? So if you only have one employee or 5 employees, you're going to end up finding that your per employee per month fee is going to be on the higher end, because you got to think about that in terms of no matter what, that payroll provider is going to have to process the payroll, make a payment. If it's one person or 50 people, it doesn't make a difference. You're going to have to do a 941. They're going to have to do your W-2s. So there's just that first floor to hop over when you have an employee. After that, you're going to see economies of scale as you grow. You should see economies of scale as you grow.
A little bit.
Yeah. There's more complexities, though.
Yeah, that's the other thing that you have to keep in mind, because a lot of times in our world, what we'll hear is, hey, I see that, because our base fee right now today is $10.25 per employee per month. And so we'll get the phone call, hey, but I got 100 employees. And so, at 10.25, can we get a discount of some kind because, it's more volume. And what we oftentimes have to remind people is that the more volume you have, the more complexity that you have. And even that 10.25, our base payroll fee, isn't the right number because we also have to do ACA work and benefits enrollment, and you have EEO1 reporting requirements. So like there's other things that come into that. So while a lot of people think if I grow, I'm going to have more leverage, economies of scale, oftentimes too much. Many times it's actually the reverse.
Yeah,
you need more stuff.
Yeah, there's a scaling in the pricing world of this stuff. Is like, while the payroll itself may be easier because you have unrepeatable things, the other complexities are going to be something that is going to require you to have additional work that no matter what's going to happen, you're going to make sure you're going to have additional systems. You're going to have multiple states. Usually you're going to have extra reporting for HR purposes.
And those things you just have to separate. Like, hey, for payroll, I'm still paying X.
Correct.
But for this other stuff that's not payroll, but it is things I need, it might be Y.
Correct.
And then you just got to get through that.
Correct.
Yeah, I think, look at your bill, look at your contract. What does it say you're going to be billed? Is a really great place to start.
Yep. I would say this. I think we're doing the right thing internally. Our goal is to be super transparent. In the industry, there's a as a whole, there's a ton of these are really big players in the market that are have a lot of marketing around trying to attract new customers, which makes total sense, and I get that. But there is a tendency to maybe not always be as transparent, and you'll see fee adjustments regularly. You'll see discounting for, hey, if you sign up for this longer contract, you can get this many months free. End of the day, you're going to end up paying pretty close to the same.
Yeah, everything pretty much blends out.
Yes.
Bigger picture, longer time frame. You do have to watch out for the bait. It feels a little bit like bait and switch, where, hey, you know what, your price is really going to be X dollars, but the reality, your price is Y dollars, but they're running this special in a year from now, and you're going to be paying 50% more or something.
And you're going to forget. They're not going to mention it. It's going to go up.
It's just going to trigger.
Yeah.
So you just have to watch out for that kind of stuff. Know your details. I know it's like business 101, but like read the contract that you're signing.
That sounds terrible, Mike.
It does. That's what I say. Throw it into ChatGPT.
Yeah, thank God for ChatGPT.
Give me the highlights. Let me know what I need, and it'll save you some time. I will also say this: if the only reason that you're looking to change payroll providers or you're interested in price shopping is because I feel like I'm paying too much, just be upfront and transparent about that as you're doing it.
Yeah.
Because if it's just about price and everything else is working perfectly, unless you feel like you're overpaying dramatically, don't make a change. It's not worth the hassle to save, $50 a month, and go through and when everything's working perfectly.
Yeah. I mean, price, we get it. I mean, I totally get it too. I've made decisions before based on price, and I'm going to do that sometimes. The reality though is if the solution I have is working, there may be just a simple conversation of like, hey, I feel like my fee's gotten out of whack. Might be worth talking to your current provider. Or more than likely, the price is not, you're not getting the value for the price you're paying. So it could be where you're not like, I'm not really moving this process forward. This isn't something I've really spent a lot of time and energy on. I need to leverage that with how would I improve my process? The value is going to be there if I can get some efficiencies. So the ROI is really, as an owner, what you should be looking at.
Yeah, it's a good point. So hopefully that gives you some ideas. If you're paying too much for payroll, at the very least, take a look at your invoices, take a look at your contract that you signed. If you can't find it, reach out to your payroll company and ask for a copy. They should be able to provide it for you. And if they don't, that should be a red flag. So thanks for listening. Make sure that you click like and subscribe and share this episode with all your friends. It would be super, super appreciated by us. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.